A vicious murder in New York City. I cannot overstate how horrific. What drove a 19-year-old to allegedly murder and decapitate his mother's boyfriend? Plus, dozens of climbers are stranded on Mount Everest, and the clock is ticking. How are rescuers getting to them after a freak blizzard? Horses and yaks. I am not kidding. And a Post exclusive. New data from the Department of Homeland Security shows a record-breaking level of deportations. Those stories and more today, Wednesday, October 8th. I'm Caitlin Becker, and this is the New York Postcast. I want to start with the most shocking story I've heard in a while. But first, I do feel like I need to warn you what I'm about to tell you is extremely graphic. A teen in the Staten Island borough of New York City is being accused of murdering his mother's boyfriend, but not only of that, also of decapitating him. 19-year-old Damian Hurstel was found by his younger sister after she came home from school. That's when he reportedly told her, quote, "I did something bad. Go to your room." I have chills just reading that. Well, she didn't listen and discovered the body of her mom's 45-year-old boyfriend in two pieces in the bathtub. The knife was still in the severed head. Hurstel allegedly confessed and offered even more gory details, telling police he first argued with his mother Monday morning, and he took a walk to try to cool off on the advice of the victim, and then he found him home alone when he returned. Now, they then argued, and he beat the boyfriend to death with a meat tenderizer, and his plan was to cut up the body, pulverize it with a blender, and flush it down the toilet. And when his efforts to do that with a kitchen knife failed, he grabbed a handsaw. Now, he allegedly then used a hammer to try to remove the man's brains, but he was interrupted by his sister coming home from school. Now, neighbors told the Post that when mom returned home to this grisly scene, she was heard screaming, "Why did you kill him? I still loved him." The victim, Anthony Casalaspro, and Hurstel's mom had been together about 6 years, according to a friend. And the family has a history of domestic incident reports involving the victim beating the teen's mom. Hurstel also has a history of mental illness, including schizophrenia and self-harm. Now, neighbors said when her alleged murderer's son was led away by police covered in blood, his mother refused to look at him, but he, quote, looked relieved, no expression on his face. Now that literal horror show is over, let me take a hard pivot to a Post exclusive. The Department of Homeland Security's latest deportation figures suggest the first year of President Trump's second term will be a record breaker. DHS says it deported more than 493,000 illegal migrants since Inauguration Day, and that 1.6 million more have left voluntarily. That's a big change from the last year of President Biden's term, where just 271,000 people were removed. The huge increase is due, in part at least, to ICE agents operating in sanctuary cities like Los Angeles, Portland, and Chicago. And speaking of Chicago, a member of the Latin Kings gang was arrested just outside of the city after he allegedly used Snapchat to put a bounty on the head of Border Chief Gregory Bovino. A source took a screen grab of that conversation and sent it to the feds, who then nabbed the Mexican national who was living in the U.S. illegally. California Governor Gavin Newsom has vetoed a bill that would increase the minimum pay for the state's firefighters, and people are scratching their heads wondering why. Just 9 months ago, this exact group was critical in helping fight the costliest blazes in state history that were in and around Los Angeles. Now, the base pay for CAL FIRE, the state firefighting service, is roughly a little more than $50,000 a year. By comparison, local firefighters, like those employed by the city of Los Angeles, make at least $85,000. In a letter explaining his decision, one that went against nearly unanimous bipartisan support, Newsom said it would cost California too much and would circumvent the collective bargaining process of the CAL FIRE union. Now, the bill would have required base pay to be within 15% of an average of 20 local fire departments around the state, and it would have cost California somewhere between $373 and $609 million in the first year. California state agencies argued that when overtime is factored in, CAL FIRE workers usually earn more than their local counterparts. Right now, dozens of mountain climbers are trapped on the world's tallest mountain, Mount Everest. Now, in your head, you might be picturing the brutal conditions near the 29,000-foot peak, but these people are trapped at the bottom in the Karma Valley, about 13,000 feet above sea level. Thanks to a freak blizzard on the mountain's eastern face, that's the side that faces Tibet, what should have been more like a hike rather than a climb could now prove to be deadly. Sherpas and rescue crews were able to save hundreds of those who were stranded, but they're still trying to make their way up to more trapped climbers. And the conditions are terrifying. The rescuers are fighting through deep snow, while the risk of hypothermia and frostbite for those trapped increases. Author and mountaineer Will Cockrell warned that the temperatures and the wind on Everest are no joke, and that it's a race against time to save those stuck in the snow before they die. Let me put the danger these climbers are in into perspective. The mountaineer said death can come rapidly. I'm talking 24 hours or less if the conditions are bad enough or the climbers lack proper preparation, which a lot of them seem to have done. Now, as of Tuesday night, there were no meaningful updates on the rescue attempts, which of course is even more concerning. The Post's Michael Kaplan dug into this scary story, and he joins me now. Michael, the situation is dire. Can you tell me anything about who the climbers are and the circumstances that left them stranded on Everest?
Yeah, I mean it's entirely Chinese people. I mean, because they're on the Chinese side of Everest. They're like on the Tibet side. And so they are, and that's like, run by China. So it's Chinese people, and it was a 1 week holiday in China. So they were all on vacation, and they were there basically trekking. Like it shouldn't have snowed like this. And they thought it was going to be, a pleasant day. The weather is usually great this time of year. And they got caught in this really, really bad blizzard. And they were not prepared for it, for sure.
It's so terrifying to think how the weather can impact people's lives in this way on a holiday, like you said. Can you break down the rescue operation for me? I mean, who are the rescuers and how exactly are they trying to reach these climbers considering the conditions?
Yeah, the rescuers are, from my understanding, it's like a local fire department. And, the area is where they practice quote unquote animal husbandry, which is the breeding of animals. So there are yaks and horses, and they're using those animals to try to help rescue the people.
Wow.
And the Chinese, from what one source told me, the Chinese are very adept with drones, and they have these drones that can carry 60 pounds. And they're using the drones. This person believes that the Chinese government will use these drones to drop off like supplies, like food, oxygen, medical supplies, and that it's interesting because I mean that's one way of getting the stuff there. But the drones obviously can't get the people out. Like they
Yeah,
need
60
guides.
pounds is not
They need
not
a
enough to
rescue
get a
crew
human being out.
to get the people out. And to that degree, there it is like apparently a fire department aided by, local animals that are helping. And, it's like heavy, wet snow is my understanding. And it's like difficult. I mean, it's not easy. They can't wait until it melts because these people are definitely not dressed properly for this kind of a situation.
I mean, hearing you say that it's like a local fire department assisted by yaks is like hard for me to wrap my head around here. And the fact that they're so ill prepared is another thing that I can't really wrap my head around. I mean, Everest is the mountain to climb for climbers. People could prepare their entire lifetime to do this. But it's a little different when it comes to the fact that it is big business. How does that factor into this incident? Are these people, are these the type of people who have trained forever for this, or was this kind of a whim?
The interesting thing is they're not climbing Everest. They are way at the bottom. Like they're not even like where the first base camp is. I mean, basically, it's a place that you would trek to, spend the night, and trek back down. The great thing about it is it gives you an amazing view of Everest, but you are not on Everest. So they're just regular people. They're not like experienced climbers. They would get a guide, and it's trekking. I mean, it's hiking, but it's not like, I mean, I don't know. If you spend your whole day sitting at a desk at the New York Post, you may not be in shape for this level of trekking, but you're not a mountain climber either. You're not a guy who's climbing up Everest. You're a guy who's taking, a hike.
Yeah, you almost think of it as okay, if you were in the area and you wanted to go see Everest, this would be a great way to see it without having to be someone who takes a couple of weeks to try to climb it. Okay, I'll just go, I'll hike around the bottom, I'll see the snow, I'll see the mountain, I'll get some of the local flavor, and then that's the experience. But The inclement weather has made this dire and potentially fatal. Thank you so much for keeping your eye on this story. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
We are now a week into the government shutdown, and the White House might have a new tactic for getting Democrats on board to end it. Axios first reported on a new White House memo that suggests back pay for furloughed federal workers may not be required for the time they're off the job. The memo didn't explain how the government will circumvent a 2019 law that President Trump himself signed in his first term, guaranteeing workers back pay in any future shutdowns. The no back pay memo comes on the heels of a White House threat to permanently fire some number of federal workers as a result of this latest shutdown, something the president confirmed again Tuesday.
How many permanent jobs are you talking about to eliminate?
Well, I can tell you, I'll be able to tell you that in 4 or 5 days if this keeps going on.
If
this keeps going on, it'll be substantial. And a lot of those jobs will never come back.
Meanwhile, if you're wondering how the government shutdown is impacting non-federal workers, look no further than the nation's airports. More than 2,200 flights were delayed on Tuesday as a result of this shutdown, which has led to staffing shortages. By now, you surely know about the trad wife trend, right? Okay, maybe not everyone does, so allow me to explain. The term trad wife is a hyphenation of traditional wife, so a woman who embraces tasks like cooking, cleaning, child rearing, and supporting her husband as the main breadwinner, foregoing a career herself. Now, allow me to introduce you to trad sons, also known as hub sons, like husbands but sons. Once again, allow me to explain. Tired of trying to climb the corporate ladder, some Gen Z types are going back home to moms, and in lieu of paying rent, they're doing all the chores around the house instead. One hub son that the Post spoke to says he does the grocery shopping, cooking, pool cleaning, and fixes things around the house. His mom's a flight attendant who works to pay the bills, and she loves the setup. A family therapist we spoke to says the growing trend is not the result of gentle parenting, but rather a weak job market, inflation, and a housing crisis, not unlike the boomerang generation before it. This one has led to 1 in 3 adults between 18 and 34 living with the parents, the old rents, so they might as well be put to work, right? Now, I really wanted to be a hater on this story. Just the term trad sons and hub sons makes me cringe, but honestly, sounds like a good gig to me. I would totally let someone live in my house rent-free and do all that work that I loathe doing, the dishes, taking the trash out, the recycling. So let me know in the comments how you feel about trad sons. I'm genuinely so curious. And while you're there, please like and follow the New York Postcast, and I see you tomorrow.